I'd like to be at some point in my life where I never get streamer anxiety anymore. I'm just like, it's gonna be all right, rather than just like, is everything gonna get ruined right after I summoned everyone to regard my failures? It's just like, everyone come watch. Oh, look, it's all ruined. Like, okay, that's a little rough.
I
Um,
never feel bad about it or I'm never like worried about it just because I feel like
mhm.
all the viewers of my streams, they know my personality, and it's like it's a bit scrappy. That's kind of the appeal of it, right? This is not the mainstream media
Mhm.
cookie cutter like
Yeah.
everything. It's just me in my room talking shit about crypto. So if it is a bit like people come despite the fact that it's been low quality production for a lot of its history. So if people show up
Yeah.
and it's a bit wrecked, that's just kind of part of the fun. Like you got to make those trade-offs for the quality content.
Yeah. Well, I'm on this one. I'm on for the first time in a long time on Facebook and Twitter as well. It's
Oh,
so
okay.
hi everyone, by the way.
Hi, Facebook.
And so that means that like Granny or whoever doesn't like watch my show, you just can all of a sudden see my face there and be like, you gotta get a more professional production value. I'm like, Jesus, like another person on my ass about this. You know
Yeah,
how it goes.
I don't know if my grandmother watches my show. I don't think so. My mum does. My mum listens quite a bit to it, which is actually really nice.
Hmm.
But she just mostly listens to it, I think, to hear what I'm thinking about, and because she knows I've been ranting to her about crypto for nearly 10
Yeah.
years.
Easier than making you pick up the phone, am I right?
Well, no, I talk to my mum all the time. Talk to her. I haven't been home in a very long time. That's a real,
Yeah.
shame. But I do talk to her regularly. So
Well, if you're Jeremy's grandma or mother watching and you're grateful for this opportunity to see his face again, throw me a tip in the super chat as thanks. Because I make these things happen. I bring families together, which I'm sure is not something that's happening a lot in crypto these days. Mostly they're being torn apart by like losing everything in your like shitcoin speculations, and you know you have a bunch of digital orangutans, and then that can't pay the rent. So just saying, it
Yeah,
happens.
you say that, but on the other hand, sometimes adversity brings people together, right? If it does depend on the family. If it's a case
sometimes
where
sometimes abject
everyone's in
financial
crypto,
ruin does a family good. You never know.
well, getting winning the lottery sometimes tears families apart, right? So it can be the case that if everyone in the family likes crypto, then it's a bonding point as the price is going down, as long as you haven't been too stupid about your allocation or you haven't
Yeah.
invested it all in Luna, then
Well,
you'll
that's the funny
probably
thing. Is the best thing for families stay together then, because you make money, you lose your family. You lose money, you lose your family. You want a stable coin, preferably an algorithmic one. Oh wait, you still lose your money and your family. All right, so apparently we're screwed no matter what happens. But hold on to your loved ones while you have them, because they will leave you soon. That's not actually what I think, but be prepared in case it does. Let's see. Who else is watching right now? I gotta actually have to observe some of the live chats on other things like freaking Facebook and stuff. No
yeah, my
comments
internet
yet.
will break if I try and do that. So it's up to you to just
Hmm.
coordinate any questions, I guess.
Well, that's why I have this. I do it all on the phone, because at that point I don't overload my terrible computer, and it gets. But then you catch me like looking down. Although it has been quite useful for me, because I've been starting to add timestamps to my videos. And so when I'm rather than having to rewatch hours of my stuff to find when I change topics or whatever, I just wait and see when my eyes are down for too long. I'm like, oh, he must be reading a headline. I'll skip to that, and then there we go. It works out. So your terrible user experience is actually in your favor to your audience. Well, we got a
Yeah,
few people watching on all networks. Let's just hit the Odyssey's got the most actually. Let's just hit the live gov things, and yeah, hit the intro and get right into this thing. Whoops, wrong button. Hi, everyone, and happy Friday. This is your daily dose, your weekly dose, week wrap up dose of crypto mayhem and nonsense. I'm joined by the one and only Jeremy, the only man on this planet to bear that name. How's it going, man?
Hey, I'm doing great. Friday night crypto. I absolutely love it.
Yeah. Well, Friday afternoon, the sun is shining quite brightly out here, well, for another few hours, but won't let that. I can't let some good sunshine to go to waste, so I'll stay indoors during that. Yeah, it's been a good time. Been a few weeks, like 6 or so weeks since I had you on. I think you're on number 70, and this is 76. So yeah, this
Well,
is.
last time we called it with Luna, we called him out as being a Ponzi that was going
Oh
to go bust
yeah,
about 3 days before it happened,
last time we
and
lost
then
everyone money. Okay, let's
yeah,
just
that's
not.
right. Well, we saved people money. Anybody who listened to that show and took our advice would have been
Yeah,
fine. So we just got to kind of do that again, I think.
yeah. The thing is, I don't think we actually told anyone to get out of it. We just talked about how sketchy some things were, and then
We highlighted the issue, all right?
yes,
We got to get
led a
some
horse to
credit.
water, as it were. And so, well, there's some like bad omens coming up on this show. But anyway, if you want to chime in, make sure to go to cointr.ee/the desert lakes. Drop a little monies in the comments. Get a little super chat. I'm gonna put it up on the screen. And yeah, let's roll right into this stuff. So obviously in no particular order. This one. So crypto has lost over 1.1 trillion in market capitalization in the last 77 days, the largest and fastest known loss in its history. Um, yeah, pretty crazy. So anyone in crypto, we feel this on a daily basis. What's your hot take, your reaction to that?
Well, it's sort of lying with statistics a little bit because it's as an absolute value, it's the largest loss or whatever. But as a percentage value, it's not really that unusual, especially in crypto. So if they said, "Oh, crypto is down, whatever, 60%," which has happened 5 times in its history, it doesn't really make as much of a dramatic headline. So while it is true that it's more money than ever, that's because the crypto market is bigger than ever on this particular bust cycle, and there's probably actually even more nonsense than usual that needs to get wiped out of the market. So, yeah, I guess it's not fun. Nobody's sitting here in crypto in a bear market thinking, "Great, well, this is excellent." But on the other hand, the people who are in the sort of legitimate lasting projects do take some satisfaction in the fact that another round of scammers get cleared out of the way and another group of users learn, unfortunately, by harsh experience, not your keys, not your coins. Everybody
Yes.
telling you to avoid scams was doing it for a reason, etc., etc. Yeah, it doesn't matter how many times you tell people. Unfortunately, a lot of them aren't going to listen or think they know better, and then they have to just feel it for themselves. And we're just going to go through that process until everyone on the planet is on the right side of history, and at that point, we'll live in crypto utopia. So it's just another step closer in my mind.
Yeah, as the Lion King taught us, it's a circle of life. You know,
Yeah,
kind of
the
goes.
circle of crypto, exactly.
The thing I think is funny about or interesting about this entire thing is maybe I'm being optimistic in thinking this last crash was kind of the .com bubble moment, where everything hit mainstream. Crypto hit the mainstream with a bunch of insolvent nonsense. And just like everyone was cashing in, Chipotle was giving away Bitcoin, everyone was doing NFT everything. Just everything was there, but like it wasn't that good. And then, Elon's tweeting about the dog. Everyone's aping into the dog coin. Companies are adopting the knockoff dog coin. The monkeypox Inu coin comes out and rug pulls $400 million from people who definitely were sound wise investors. Yeah, and there you go. Great Wolf, by the way. I'm giving people way too many freebies, but it was a good comment. They just need to experience that RBF for themselves sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean that's maybe you're right. I mean, I think it is now getting to the point where it's a bit of a converging timeline where on one hand you have crypto becoming more mainstream, which means people are more aware that they need to think carefully about how they get involved. Of course, a lot of them don't, but on average,
Mm-hmm.
the awareness of that is rising. And at the same time, the more boom and bust cycles we go through, the more sort of solid projects there are, and the good players kind of slowly are rising to the top, and it makes it easier for people to get involved in things that are solid. You know, they tend to have better marketing or a longer track record, or they figured out ways to convince people that they're the real deal, or whatever. So as a result, things are getting better each cycle.
The thing with the boom and bust type crypto stuff that I almost think, I mean, obviously everything, wiggles out in the end. I kind of feel like, Bitcoin was all utility until like 2013 or so. And it got its first big hype pump and then crash off of that. And so that was like, oh, we're off to the races with crypto. And at some point, this is of course like the block size wars sort of perspective, but at some point in there, Bitcoin kind of lost the utility, or didn't lose its utility, I don't think, but like diminished it, right? And kind of kept speculating on it as a tech anyway. And so that just caused this like, well, it's like it's pretty good, but it's not perfect. But whatever, we're gonna pretend it's revolutionary, and just it let that like inflation of like the valuation, that the part of it that is not based on pure real utility, but the speculation to become higher and higher and higher. And it's like, well, it's enough real utility too, so that's fine. And then that kind of set the precedent of like all these projects are like, well, it's great, but like it set the precedent of like, well, Bitcoin's doing great despite having some large unresolved issues. And then you get to like Ethereum, which is like doing everything right that Bitcoin didn't do, until then you have the scaling problems, the huge fees, and they're all like, yeah, but it's still a great project, still throw a lot of money in despite these like titanic issues, and don't smack it down to zero until it fixes those, and then build it back up. And it just kind of like, then you just have like dog coins and all this crazy nonsense this last cycle, where it's just like, okay, now the people, you've kind of reached peak, .com bubble kind of thing, and that's getting cleared out. And hopefully by the next cycle, we're going to see much more of it driven by actual utility and things like that, which is, not good for a lot of Bitcoin maximalists, but definitely way less good for just almost every other product. Not every, but like for the vast majority of them.
Well, the Bitcoin maximalist angle is just funny because I saw some commentary the other day by somebody who's more in that camp saying, "Oh, and the rest of the market isn't dropping as much as they expected." That's in their mind, this is their time to shine when all the other
Mm-hmm.
projects are going bust, and all the crap is getting washed out of the market, and so on and so forth. To them, that should be Bitcoin reaching back up to big 50%, 70%, then 80% crypto dominance, and they get to crow, aha, we knew these things were all not going to last. And while things are dropping and falling away, there's now there's a lot more legitimate is a tricky word, but projects that do have real teams of people that are getting real money. They are trying to build a real project, and mostly they don't care about Bitcoin, right? For whatever reason, Bitcoin is not the thing that they're interested in, or not the market that they're after. And so money is just being routed around into all these projects. And once those projects are surviving through bear market busts, similar to Ethereum, has already shown kind of that resilience and is now getting recognition from the Bitcoiners more as, oh, okay, we don't like this, but on the other hand, we kind of can't keep calling you guys a scam because you've just lasted so long. That's going to happen to more and more projects, right? And
Yeah.
eventually, the relevance of Bitcoin is just diminishing in the market because the bear market cleans out a lot of the crap, and whatever survives one bear market, two bear markets, three bear markets, just is essentially close to as
Hmm.
legitimate as Bitcoin at some point, right?
Yeah, I mean that happens. I think that I still think that like I'm wondering if it's either next cycle, maybe Ethereum could flip in Bitcoin, but I'm not even convinced that that's going to happen with the next cycle because when I
Yeah, me
start
neither.
looking through the entire like slate of projects, because I'm just clearly the space is growing to be more diversified and things like that. It the average person who doesn't know much about crypto knows about a bunch of projects now. All that being said, if you just look at like the top 20, there's nothing good in there basically. Just like, and I'm not just saying nothing according to my puritanical specifications or anything. They're just like a lot. It's like 80% stable coins to begin with. And then after that, it's just like, oh, you might have a Solana and a XRP in there, stuff that just is either centralized trash or breaks, or both in Solana's case. And then you have like Litecoin's kind of hanging around in there a little bit. It like which Litecoin is real. It's just light on the innovation, pardon the pun. But like, there's just nothing. You have to go down to like the 30s now to find anything else good. And then like the first
BCH still in
page,
the top 30. Let's go, baby. But
yeah.
only by a little bit. Yeah.
And then Monero cracked up in there. Uh,
Yeah.
it's definitely. I mean, Monero definitely has made a lot of gains during like the bear market parts, partially from just being like doing one thing that people thought Bitcoin did, which is have privacy, and that people found out the hard way when some Bitcoin get confiscated from like trucker donations and stuff, and then they're like, "Oh shit," and they'll just pile into Monero, and it's like that's the way it goes. But like you see like legitimate transaction counts and stuff like growing over time. Litecoin has a lot of them too, as far as I've been able to tell, and it's like then of course you have like BSV just like redlining it all the time, and then giant drop offs, and that's a little harder to trust if you know what I mean. But yeah, you basically see a lot of the money is dumb money that went into the space and just went away. But one thing that
Well, by
I'm
the
like,
retail
yeah,
and by the institutions as well, it's worth noting, right? Is that
yeah,
they also have just bucketed in just chunks of money into a lot of stuff that is now not really working out. And of course, you can say, well, that's kind of the VC approach: is just invest in 100 things and hope one of them hits 1,000x, right? That's kind of the strategy. But on
mm-hmm,
the other hand, they are going to slowly sort of wake up a bit to what's going on as well too. And the recent thing has seems to have been these clips that people have been sharing of ex skeptical podcaster or show host or whatever asks someone, what does Web3 actually do? And then just keeps drilling on the person as they basically explain, their way around nothing. So I'm sure that will start to fade away too as the useless Web3 or hype stuff gets moved out of the way,
yeah.
and again, more useful stuff kind of rises up.
I feel like especially Web3 plus NFTs were you know a significant innovation, yet also the dot commiest part of the bubble, right? Where it feels like it used to be like, oh, everyone creates a shitcoin or whatever, we have our own token, but yeah, that's all gone. Now it's like everyone mints an NFT, and like everyone who's not an artist is like, let me make an NFT of this stupid drawing someone else did that's just no good. And it's like, what that's like for artists and stuff, or make something that's not an art NFT that does other things, but no, they just like slap an NFT on it. There we go. And then so I think peak NFT on the positive and negative side at the same time was the U.S. Super Bowl, the big ol' not the football, but the weird American version thingy, the largest sporting event. Every ticket to the Super Bowl came with an NFT, and it's
Did
like,
it? I didn't know about that. Jeez. All
yeah,
right.
which that's huge. I mean, Ethereum NFT, but still, but now that's obviously a sign of like, dude, we're here. NFT
Yeah.
tickets, like the most mainstream thing in the world. We're here. At the same time, they gave people like paper tickets or whatever, and then after the show, you could like claim your commemorative NFT of your ticket. And it's just like, all right, well, that's just like kind of a cash grab at that point because you didn't actually give people an NFT that they use to authenticate, which by the way, the tech is there, is so there today. You could have done this, but then you're like, well, which blockchain are we going to use? Are you going to use like, well, it's got to be Ethereum because that's big, or maybe Solana, like Melania Trump does. But like, you're going to use Ethereum. How are you going to negotiate people with their holding private keys and their devices and all? Like, nah, just do tickets, but give them this thing to say we cryptoed, we totally cryptoed, dudes. It's like the it's like having a website as a food truck in what, well, I don't remember whenever the .com bubble was. I can't remember the year. But like
1999, 2000, yeah, or
yeah, but
98,
it's like
99, yeah.
it's like right in those years. It's just like, oh, my little flower shop would have exclusively 85-year-old customers. I have like a website, yay! And it's just like, all right, have fun paying for hosting because that's giving you nothing right now. So it's one of those kinds of things where in probably, I don't know if it's gonna be the next cycle, but like let's just say 8 years from now, I can easily see all the Super Bowl tickets being NFTs and using people holding their own keys or custodial, whatever the hell, but having the NFTs and using them to actually authenticate access into the event and then stuff like that. So 4 to 8 years we're going to be there probably, but right now there's a lot of that stuff. There's a lot of like Web3, which basically just means Web2 plus MetaMask, and it's just like
Yeah.
like Web3 is so cool, but I have yet to see a good example of it.
Well, I think the things that are the most legitimate are like micro tips and payments, are like people doing super chats on this show, for instance, is that's the actual Web3 of something useful that couldn't have been done before, or that if you tried to do it live with PayPal donations or whatever, it would just be a disaster. Nobody does that. But you can
Yeah.
do that on this show with crypto, and yet that is the least hyped part about it all, because the actual payment coins are not the ones that are getting the attention, even though they're the ones that work and do what they're claiming to do.
Well, on that subject, I do have a surprise at the end of the podcast, but a new shiny thing, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Let's talk about freaking Binance. So, first off, the crypto market, as soon as it didn't even, I wouldn't say it didn't even crash that bad. It did crash that bad, but like, do you remember? Wasn't it like December? It was still like all-time highs. It was. It just like 6 months. Like, what happens in 6 months that you just like lay off 20% of your workforce, as like Coinbase? Like Coinbase laid off or rescinded around 20% of its workforce. A whole bunch of crypto companies are doing the same. All cataclysmic, all that kind of stuff. And then our good old friend Chengping Zhao, CZ of Binance, said, he tweets out, "It was not easy saying no to Super Bowl ads, stadium naming rights, large sponsor deals a few months ago, but we did. Today, we are hiring for 2,000 open positions for Binance." And you're just like, dude, what a Chad in some way. But I know he's not everyone's favorite person. But first off, do you think first off, do you think Binance is going to end up single-handedly owning the entire crypto space? And second, do you think this is just like a posturing of like, oh yeah, we're still hiring some people, but they're really going to be hurting in a couple months, just like everyone else?
Uh, well, I think seems to have been killing it for a long time. I've never personally used Binance or any of their things. Maybe I used Binance Chain once or twice, so I can't really speak overall to the quality of their products or their exchange or something. But I think CZ seems to be having a lot of. Firstly, I love his Twitter feed. He makes a lot of great tweets, but he also seems to be succeeding just because he's doing crypto the right way. I kind of want to say, where he's willing to be a bit fast and loose with regulatory arbitrage and with kind of prioritizing giving the customers what they actually want, how they want it. And crypto is a bit chaotic and a bit messy and a bit fly by the seat of your pants, and that's how he's willing to run his operation, and the market is rewarding that because that's how crypto was sort of designed. So that makes a lot of sense to me, and I think maybe if he's hiring a ton of people now, yeah, maybe he did just have a better read on the market than everyone else. And while all the other crypto companies were stocking up their crypto war chests, he was stocking up his fiat war chest, expecting that a crash was going to come. And
Hmm.
as a result, he's just a step ahead of the game while everyone else is trying to sort of wind down operations or, minimize the damage. He's seen it coming and he's going on the offense in the bear market, which is exactly what you want to do. I wish I'd been a bit better about
Hmm.
that. I was sort of expecting a downturn, so I'm not surprised or wrecked. Like I'm fine, but probably I could have been a little more aggressive about thinking, you know what, let's really make
The
this an
profit taking.
opportunity rather than than just a survival kind of strategy.
Yeah, he's in it for the long game. I don't know if he's doesn't have a lot of hubris, but he definitely, I think he understands his place in the ecosystem, and I feel like companies like Coinbase that just conquered early on kind of you know, got too big for their britches eventually. Like got a little bit of that feeling of like we're untouchable, we're gonna do this like IEO, we're gonna, and then eventually it's just like, oh, okay, well, there's a lot of competition, and then like Binance in the meantime is just like taking over the world as quickly as they can, sustainably as they can, and just and then they already got their big hacks out of the way back in the day when he's just like, let's just reverse the Bitcoin chain. Oh wait, no, you can't do that. That whole hot mic moment that I'll never forget. But yeah, I mean, I think the thing is, Binance is already such a giant player in the space. Like between BNB, their token, which is basically a company token, right? Plus their stablecoin still in the top 10. Plus, they just like own everything. And I looked at their hiring page because I'm just like, I want to see what they're hiring for. And they're hiring, and it was only like a couple, like 100 or so positions they had listed there. But it's just like, man, they're everywhere. They're just everywhere doing everything. Like Saudi Arabia is, I think it's Saudi Arabia, or was it Dubai? It's one of the two. I can't remember. It opened up some shopping mall thing. That's everything's using Binance Pay, and it's just like, whoa, they're everywhere. So the thing is, what happens if the space becomes controlled by Binance? Then it's like essentially a centralized ecosystem. So that's the thing. As much as I'm applauding CZ's business acumen and wisdom and scrappiness and attention to the final consumer, the end user, I'm also like, man, someone else has got to start giving him a run for his money before we just end up all being owned by him.
Well, yeah, I mean, yes and no. I'm not super worried about that in the sense that, I mean, you have the whole. I know they do actually do some Bitcoin mining, I believe, Binance, but you have the whole mining infrastructure setups. You have all the different coins with all the different dev teams and all the different ecosystems. So, yeah, there's always going to be a place for all different exchanges. The more P2P things get, the more stuff that will be going on outside of any company and just direct
Mm-hmm.
between people. The more mass market things go, the more room there will be for those kind of people just linking up and trading amongst themselves directly. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not super worried about it. Maybe it's a problem, but maybe I'm underestimating how big Binance is or, or whatever. But in my part of the crypto world, the main thing is just his tweets. That's the main thing that comes across my radar.
Yeah. Well, let's hit on another favorite centralization vector of the space, Tether. Um, Tether USDT's market cap dips below 70 billion for an 8-month low. Amid Tether losing market share over the past few weeks, Circleback's USDC stablecoin has been growing notably, with the market value surging to 55 billion. So Tether's getting its lunch eaten a little bit. And then I saw this Vice article, because like I'll get into that in a second. The Tether claims coordinated conspiracy is trying to take it down. Top stablecoin claimed rumors about its reserves are being spread in an attempt to generate profits from a failing Tether by coordinated funds. All right, give me your hot take on this one because I got a lot of thoughts too.
Well, I think it just it's good. It's a strong thing for the crypto ecosystem if Tether is doing redemptions and they're getting cashed out. I don't think that they have a limitless amount of money. I think it's a bit of a scam, right? But the closer
Hmm.
that that amount of real money can get siphoned out to actual people or whoever has the tethers before it all blows up, the less the impact will be, right? If there was
Hmm.
100 billion and 50 billion of it is real, let's say, and then it blows up, then you're kind of dealing with the problems of all 100 billion. But if there's 100 billion and then 50 billion gets taken out by half the ecosystem, and then they just one day go, oh shit, the remaining 50 billion, we've got zero, that's kind of that's less than half as bad, basically. So I think if they're doing redemptions because other parts of the ecosystem realize that this is a bit sketchy and they don't want to be the last ones at the dance, then that makes sense to me. And obviously, it seems like it might also be related to Three Arrows Capital have been blowing up as well, and they presumably had some tethers that they were trying to cash in to save their failing operation. And who
Hmm.
knows where that money is going to go or it's going to get dished out to. But if the market is slowly sort of doing its own kind of regulation by shifting into more credible stable coins as a matter of course.
Every single time I see on Twitter Tether is trending, I just get that like that sweat go down the face because I'm just like, here it comes. It's like, here it comes. You know that meme? It's like, because, and it honestly worried the crap out of me for a little while at the beginning of the last bear market around that time. Because obviously, when bear markets kind of, when they kind of hit, a lot of stuff dies, but everyone, like, I didn't even know what Tether was until, Tether was like not a, and then the stablecoin market started to hit, and then you start to hear about like, oh, it's like backed by dollars an account, whatever. Then you start hearing all the sketchy things, and for a while, I really thought that Tether was going to implode around 2018, 2019, maybe 2020, and destroy the whole crypto markets. Like, it was already a bear market, but I thought it was really going to go boom and like actually set the space back, not just do a little bit of that. But yeah, so the thing with that is I think a lot of Bitcoiners, specifically like maximalists and stuff, figured that could be a problem, and they propped up Tether as long as they freaking could, and we made it to here.
Yeah,
And
well, we're just going to keep going until eventually it does blow up. But if it's not growing, then I think the longer it goes on, sort of the better in some sense, because the longer it goes on without blowing up, the more time everyone else has to build out a real product or a real economy or whatever that is not linked to that. So then when it does eventually blow up, the damage will be somewhat minimized. Like Luna blowing up did less damage overall than I would have expected. That was a top 10 crypto, two top 10 cryptos basically that went
yeah,
away overnight and everything was still okay. It wasn't great. The whole market took like a 20% hit or whatever, but that's like Tuesday in crypto. And then we've been in a bit of a bear market and other things have been going bust too. Maybe there's been some slower sort of ramifications there. But it does sort of make me feel like, well, maybe actually Tether could go bust and people would like it would probably be bad. Maybe we'd be down 30 or 40%. But on the other hand, once again, all the projects that are separated from Tether would would be relatively unimpacted despite except for a somewhat temporary price drop basically.
your lighting's still good. I just realized where the VCR aspect came from. It's your fan and the shadows that it casts
All right.
make it
Got
look
like my
like
lamp over here.
the VCR. But now that mystery's solved, that's good. But anyway, yeah. So for everyone watching, this was quite the dodgy stream today. Thanks in large part to the terrible connection I got going on here. I hope this kind of thing will be solvable at some point, but it might not be. In which case, maybe just have to have patience for live streams. If not, maybe I'll have to start like getting like a dedicated
You gotta
something
get a
like,
stream producer. I've got Jet. He does a great job.
yeah. I just
He's got
need,
a better internet connection than me.
yeah, yeah. I just need actual like good internet for this stuff. But yeah, we'll figure that out. But in the meantime, so as we were wrapping up this kind of thing, um, you were mentioning earlier about like, for example, adding tickets, like ticket NFTs, all that kind of authentication, like making stuff, kind of like the usefulness of it. And of course, I've been diving deeply into this world. And so finally, as of was it last week, I started to mint my own NFTs, and at some point I'm going to sell them like the greedy freaking capitalist that I am. But right now, just go make a sound. Ta-da! Every single person who's a guest on this podcast gets a shiny thing. And so that's for you. You get I guess it's one of two now because I had Eleanor on last week. One
Yeah.
of two guest only NFTs. Now, I have to actually get you set up, and because it was like adverse circumstances with scheduling and stuff today as well, I didn't get a chance to like get you on board with that. But basically, I'm going to send you this little thing, this shiny thing, and then it gets you into my Discord, and the Discord actually scans for this NFT in your wallet. So if you
That's
sell
super
it or
cool.
something, it kicks you out. And
Uh-huh.
so I'm going to use it for like live super chats and stuff like that. So people can just buy the NFT, have the little thing, and then use it to get into that instead of having to go to Cointree every single time, etc.
Mm.
And also, what I'm trying to figure out, which I found out in a janky kind of way how to do it, and I'm going to do it in a better way, is NFTs on the Wax blockchain, which is what I'm using, have a mutable data section where you have you can actually edit specific data. And so basically, I'm trying to figure out how to, because involves a smart contract, and I kind of found one who does almost the same thing, but it's like uses the guy's credentials and stuff like that. And so I don't want him to be making all my NFT.
Oh, your
It's a little weird.
NFTs, yeah.
I have to modify some parameters if I can't figure out get someone to like who knows how to code up smart contracts to like fix it for me. But I will be able to change the immutable data part of it. So you buy the NFT, or in this case, you work hard for it by coming on my shitty streaming show, and then there's info on like how to get into like the Discord or whatever, like in the NFT there, like the link to or directions to get in or other things like that, or possibly a special message. And so you can kind of update that, over time. And so I just hit smart contract runs, interacts with the NFT, updates that little bit, and then there you go. But you still have it. I can't take it away from you. I can't take away the image from you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's all immutable, but there's a mutable section. So I'm trying to like trial by fire, jump into this whole thing, and actually get, try to see what are practical NFTs you can actually use and how they actually work in the real world. So yeah, that's fun stuff.
It's super cool. No, thank you. I don't own any NFTs. I've never owned an NFT before, so this will be my first one, and I like that it's not just a picture of a whatever that I bought because
Yes.
I'm still not really sold on that. I like that it has and I think this is the direction it's more likely to evolve in,
Mm-hmm.
where people will be trying to make yeah, you have to link the NFT to something in the real world with someone who has a sort of reputation. I think that's why the whole Bored Ape Yacht Club thing, they seem
Is
to have done really
crashing.
well because they created the project
Mm-hmm.
and then they were kind of like, oh, and we've got this members club and we've got these other associated stuff. I don't know, none of it seemed that appealing to me, but at least they had some stuff where a lot of
Mm-hmm.
other NFTs, it was just here's some art. So yeah, I like the idea that it's linked to a certain Discord. That sounds awesome to me. And yeah, it's like Soho House or anything like that. You just if you're in the club,
Yeah.
you're in the club, and there's some specific entry rules or ways you can or can't
Mm-hmm.
get in. Seems awesome to me.
Yeah. It's so obviously for the podcast guests, it's only minted as I have new people on the show. As I get to do a special edition for people who are 10 times or more. One of my guests has actually been on for 10 times or 11 times, and so I have to get him his own new unique one. But so obviously it's a permanent digital collectible. that actually, because it's attached to a real thing that happened. It's just like, even if it's just a collectible, it's like, all right, yeah. Ooh,
Back
that
again.
was that was possibly me, which kind of sucks. But the whole recording thing didn't stop. But anyway, so it has value because it is a collectible of a real thing. It's like, all right, I got this nice little thing to remind me I was on the show, and then but then also gets you in like the Discord and all this kind of stuff. And now you can, I'm sure, sell it and stuff, which, I don't know why someone would buy a thing that would commemorate, that's like, why would you buy? I don't know why someone, at least in the short term, would buy a thing commemorating something that they didn't do, but they could. Or maybe you get hit by a bus or something and someone says, oh, I want Jeremy's NFT to, like, live on. His estate's going
If
to
I get
sell
hit
it
by a
for a
bus, I
bunch.
won't be around to sell it.
Yeah. But your estate,
Oh
just
yeah,
some,
exactly. True. True. Somebody
yeah.
could cash in hardcore on that. Yeah.
But that's the thing about like a subscriber thing. So instead of like paying per thing, it's like, okay, you just buy a subscription, except it comes with a thing that definitively shows that you got this. And you don't have to chase down like someone's pride, like, what's your email address? What's your this? And like, you have to, it just, whoever has it. And I can just update the info that says, where to go for the Discord or whatever else. Like if, say, my YouTube channel goes down, I have to make a new one, or I have to switch to a different streaming platform, I can just add that in to anyone who has it. And then someone just like says, oh, you know what? Like, this is cool. And then like 3 weeks into this show, they're just like, dude, this guy's shit. And they want to like, they don't just like, you can't get their money back, but they can resell the NFT and be like, oh, this, the best show in the world. Trust me, it's like well worth your money to like, but and then they just sell to Greater Fool or whatever. They can just pass it on, and then it kind of all. And I don't even have to worry about who gets the next, like I don't have to worry about who gets a subscription, which identity is involved with this. Oh, are you canceling your subscription? No, the way you cancel it, you sell it.
Yeah.
Sell it or transfer it to someone else. I don't care. They just, a new person pops into the Discord and it's like, oh, who are you? Oh, well, you must have the NFT, so welcome, I
Yeah.
guess. So
No, it
that's
sounds
kind of how it
awesome.
works. Yeah, trying to
Yeah,
make it real.
I think there's going to be lots of this is a good sort of first step because I'm interested in all these ideas. It would be like it could be that if you had a certain number of these NFTs, then you can cash in 5 to be a guest on the show or something like that. I mean, it does open up a lot of questions like, oh, okay, then what would be the market price for being on this show, and would you really accept anybody who just because who knows who's going to get the NFTs? And there could be all kinds of elements
Yeah.
around that, right?
Or you
But
could
maybe it would have to be
speculate.
per approved
Yeah.
basis.
So yeah, if you sell it for extremely cheap, and then someone's like, man, this guy's gonna go someplace, I'm gonna buy NFT now, and I can resell it for a significantly higher price later. And then just by the speculation on that, so they can make money. And so it encourages speculation, which in this case is good. And yeah, all that cool stuff. And yeah, poor Jeremy disappeared again. But this is still recording, so it's fine. As soon as he comes back, I'm just say bye and end this thing. There we go. Kind of popped back. It's gonna be quite the fun podcast to stitch together especially for the audio only listeners. Could be a lot of extra work and stuff, but interesting. Well, let me isn't it funny when you have like a meeting of two people with the worst internet in the crypto space at the same time being like, let's do a live stream? It's just how it happens. But anyway, I think it's probably a good time to wrap the whole thing up. I don't know if you're hearing me right now, but if you hear me from beyond the grave, Jeremy, goodbye. You're my favorite person named Jeremy who comes on my podcast, probably. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week for hopefully a much smoother streaming experience. Depends on how much I can yell at the internet provider and see if I can get it fixed. Anyway, Dash podcast next. It's a live show, so it's not a live show, I should say at this point. So I don't know why I'm even saying that, but yeah, Dash podcast next. Let's hope that's not a train wreck. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week. Bye bye.